Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Ernst Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our video. The college football transfer portal has just opened to every single team, and there's already been a lot of big-name players that have entered the portal. Quarterbacks like Dillon Gabriel, McCord, Dante Moore, and Leonard have all entered, and you've got a big defensive lineman from Texas A&M and Walter Nolan that's entered the portal. Players from every team and every position have all entered, and me and WillND, we break down the biggest names to enter the transfer portal so far and our predictions for where possibly these players could go next. You got Dante Moore at UCLA in the portal. Obviously, everybody's like he's the biggest name so far to enter the portal because of his potential, even though other people would argue that guys like Dillon Gabriel, McCord are even bigger names, but Moore has the talent, but he's not even the highest rated guy according to 247 Sports is even in the portal. But what are your thoughts on Dante Moore entering the portal from UCLA first?
So Dante, I have a little background on Dante Moore because like Notre Dame was going to get him originally. Dante himself wanted to go to Notre Dame, but his dad's like, no, I need to make as much money off of you as possible, which is just sad. So I was like, all right, Oregon, the Nike money came in. And then at the last second, UCLA came up with a big sum of money to give him. And then suddenly now he's leaving UCLA. It just smells like a Miami NIL money grab. Give all the money to Mr. Moore, and then Dante will go there. I think he's going to Miami. And who knows how he'll do there, man.
That's a great prediction, man. It really is. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it at all. It does seem like a Miami edition. But you think about Miami fans, though. Tyler Van Dyke, who formerly used to be known as Tyler Van Dyke, they were so high on him 2 years ago. And then obviously this year, he struggled, and now he's out the door. He's in the portal. But to me, is Dante Moore really going to be able to help elevate them to where they want to go? Because, I mean, I just don't know. Miami is just kind of stuck in, we've got some talent, but it's disjointed. And if you can't even keep your starting quarterback in Tyler Van Dyke and you're bringing in a guy like Dante Moore, who really didn't do that well at UCLA. Granted,
that's why Aiden Childs also got some playing time as a true freshman. He looked better than Dante at Oregon State as a true freshman than Dante did as a true freshman.
247 probably had it right. They rated him higher. They rated him higher than Dante Moore, but Moore has all the talent in the world, but to me, he got benched at UCLA. A lot of people said, well, he got hurt. I thought he was benched because he had 10 touchdowns, 7 picks, and he was not playing well. That Utah game was like the beginning of the end because he was playing okay at first, but then he started to struggle, and then obviously came back in late, and then they got the win over USC, but then they lost to Cal in the final game of the season. So, I mean, like I said,
they got blown out by Cal. They got blown out.
Blown out by Cal. They didn't just lose. They got blown out. But I just don't think if Dante Moore goes to Miami that they're going to be able to really turn their program around. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I mean, maybe he can, but I don't see it.
It'll be interesting to see how much better Aiden Childs looks in year 2. But he's going to be playing on Michigan State and not Oregon State. I think he could do well as a Spartan, though. I could see him doing well. Dante at Miami, who knows?
Yeah,
but
I agree.
The natural talent's there. Like, they showed him in the U.S. Well, I don't think it's Army All-American game. I think it's just called the All-American Bowl now. But he was looking incredible out there in that high school All-Star game. So the talent's there for Dante. It's just if the quarterback coach at Miami or wherever he goes can do his job, I think Dante will be good. But I don't know if Miami's the place. But he might go there for the money for sure, as we said.
I hope he don't. I mean, I hope he actually goes somewhere that has great quarterback development because I just don't see it at Miami either. They've struggled with developing players in the last 10 years. I mean, guys that go there, it's not like the death knell, like you're just going to stink, but a lot of guys have really struggled when they do go to Miami. Cam Ward, I've seen a lot of people sour on him recently, which is kind of ironic because obviously he was really doing great at the beginning of the season. Washington State was in the top 15 in the rankings, and then they tanked. But I don't think it was all him. Did he have a couple bad games? Yes, but there were a few games that they lost.
The defense let him down a bit. And I'm here in Ohio State on Twitter. People are thinking Cam Ward's going to be the starting quarterback for the Buckeyes in 2024.
Is Cam Ward, how much of an upgrade, in your opinion, is Cam Ward over McCord, or is he at all in your mind?
I think he's athletic as crap, man. Like, if he has the receivers that he has, I actually think he's going to be really good at Ohio State if he goes there. I'm actually buying it. The hype a bit.
It would be good for Cam Ward in a way to go there because if he actually can, turn his career around, because like I said, I have not seen a guy like Cam Ward fall out of favor so quickly with people. He was so high on people's minds when he made the transfer from Incarnate Word up to Washington State, and he did well. And I mean, even his stats this year are good. They're good stats. Because Mark was talking about it earlier today. People were saying, oh, Cam Ward's terrible. And I don't know. I think that he is still a really talented guy. Washington State's defense was pretty abysmal at times. Granted, they did lose to Stanford 10-7, so you can't blame the D, but still Cam Ward's stats overall were good. If he has an upgrade talent around him, I think he can turn his career around. Ohio State would be interesting, though. I have seen, like you said, Will, some people say that, but I just don't know. I mean, is Ohio State really going to take a quarterback from Washington State? Even though he's really talented, we'll see. I hope he does go there and turns it around because I think he has a lot of talent, but people have soured on him recently. Will Howard at Kansas State, I don't get this transfer. I don't understand it. I know that I guess you would say briefly lost his spot in the lineup, but
I think that must be why.
Where's he going to go, though? Because I feel like he's kind of in a weird spot where he didn't play good enough for him to get really attention from the top programs, but he didn't do bad enough where he should obviously be going to a group of 5 school. I mean, he's good enough to be a Power 5 or Power 4 now that the Pac-12 is basically history. What do you think about this transfer? Have you heard any smoke on where he's going to go?
I've seen Nebraska tossed around a bit.
That would actually make sense, really, to be honest. And Nebraska, that's like a lateral move. In a way, Nebraska fans would hate that statement. Like, we're way better than Kansas State, but Nebraska's been abysmal the last 20 years, especially the last 10. So it'd almost be a downgrade. Obviously, he's going to a better league. Nebraska probably has more NIL for sure. So it would be a good move in that regard. But Nebraska needs a quarterback that is going to help them win games. And if they believe Will Howard's that guy, I think he can do it. I mean, he led Kansas State to some good seasons. Not great, but good years. So last 2 seasons. So, I mean, when he took over Adrian Martinez, he did do a good job the year before. And this past season, he was pretty good. But I just don't really know what place would fit for him.
Now I'm hearing he's going to Ole Miss on Twitter. Lane Kiffin just tweeted that he landed in the Kansas Jet Center Airport. Like, he tweeted that 3 hours ago. So he's at least going to try. Yeah. Like, look, he tweeted it. Yeah.
What in the world? I mean, I love how like we're tracking where, coaches are going like now if we're going to get hired and now trying to get players. I mean, everybody's on the search, but does Ole Miss make sense though? I mean, in your opinion, go Tigers, which aka Edwards says Dart said he is coming back. So if he's coming back, Will Howard to Ole Miss doesn't make sense. Because he's not going to start. There's no way Will Howard's going to start over.
I mean, he did.
Jackson
That's
Dart.
the thing, though. Like, he brought in Spencer Sanders and Will Howard. So does he like having the 2 quarterbacks there to compete?
It's smart for Lane Kiffin, but it's not smart for the QBs because Spencer Sanders didn't play this year, and it was his last year of college football, and he was at Oklahoma State starting, and he probably would have started over Bowman all year. So he just ruined any chance he had of being able to play in the NFL because he didn't play in his last season of college football. I mean, he probably got more NIL, I guess, as a backup, but to me, that just don't make sense. Just like Mike Wright leaving Vanderbilt for Mississippi State, that didn't make sense to me either because you're a backup to Will Rogers. And Will Howard, if he goes to Ole Miss, that doesn't make sense. I would not go there. Obviously, NIL, push Dart, that's great, but Will Howard is a starting level quarterback. He does not need to go to Ole Miss. I would go to Nebraska if I was him. Riley Leonard, obviously, you see that 100% to Notre Dame, Will's team. Riley Leonard, what are your thoughts, Will? Because it's your team if he goes there. Do you think Riley Leonard is an upgrade or a downgrade from Sam Hartman?
This is why I think Riley Leonard's an upgrade on Sam Hartman. Sam was too used to the slow mesh. Like, you couldn't teach an old dog new tricks. He was still stuck on the slow mesh, and he stared receivers down. And that's what killed Notre Dame, especially against Louisville.
I don't get the slow mesh offense anyway. I know that it works for Dave Clawson at Wake Forest, but I don't really get it because it doesn't really prepare you for the next level either. It doesn't prepare you for the NFL because they don't run that there. It's kind of like Virginia offense in college basketball. It doesn't prepare you for the NBA in any way. But, yeah, I would agree with you. And the other thing about Riley Leonard, too, is that he has, mobility. Is he a track star athlete? No, but he has mobility. He has the size to take some hits. The only thing I'm worried about, though, is him getting injured because he did get hurt at Duke. Would he get hurt again at Notre Dame? Now, that should not keep Notre Dame from wanting to add him, because I think he would be a great addition with more talent around him, which Notre Dame definitely has, than Duke. I think he would have a lot of success. And again, I wouldn't say a done deal, but it's like the same smoke with Sam Hartman going to Notre Dame. It looks like this is going to happen, but that's the only thing I'm worried about for Notre Dame fans, is him getting injured again.
Yeah, I completely agree. That was pretty much what I was going to say. So
I'm sure most people are saying it as well on social media. So Riley Leonard looks like going to Notre Dame. That'd be a good addition for the Fighting Irish. Linda Burbike, thanks for stopping by. Says, why is Gabriel entering the portal? Oklahoma just can't keep a quarterback. That's the next quarterback on the list. Right. I'm shocked by this.
Okay, I know why.
Jeff Levy.
Yes, he's going to Jeff. He's on Mississippi State, and also Jackson Arnold. Okay, there's a debate. Jackson Arnold, Dante Moore, Malachi Nelson were the 3 best quarterbacks. They believe Jackson's ready to go. They believe that Jackson Arnold will be able to lead in his true sophomore season, will be able to compete for a national championship. They think he's that good, that he can take him to that level in his second year.
But is that a risk, though? Because Dillon Gabriel is rock solid. You know what I'm saying?
Dillon
I mean, he is rock solid.
Yeah, well, they believe in Arnold. I don't know. We'll see.
But if it doesn't pan out, and he only leads in like 8-4, you got to realize they're going to the SEC now. The Big 12, the training wheels are off. They're going to the big boy conference. They're going to the SEC. Are they going to be able to compete for a national? I understand the 12-team playoff. I get that. But it's not just enough to get to the playoff. You have to be able to try to win. We talk about all the years Oklahoma's made it in the past. They weren't a serious national title threat, even though they made the playoff. They got blown out every year they made it, basically.
Well, I don't know. They think that Jackson Arnold's the guy. We'll see. As Edward,
I mean, do you think it's smart for Dillon Gabriel to go to a team like Mississippi State? I know, to follow Jeff Levy. I mean, I understand it, but I still don't think I would have left a program like Oklahoma unless they basically – because we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Like everyone's speculating, maybe they're nudging him out. If that's the case, kind of like another quarterback we're about to get to in Colin McCord, if that's the case, I understand. But Mississippi State's a big downgrade from Oklahoma. It's a big downgrade. Mississippi State's struggling to compete right now in the SEC. You're adding Oklahoma and Texas. To me, Dillon Gabriel is good enough to play at a bigger program than Mississippi State. Nothing against Mississippi State. It's just, I don't think that will be the best move for him, but maybe, Levy can still have him have success.
Well, I don't know. I was listening to a podcast today, and they think he's like a system quarterback. They wouldn't do that well under a different coordinator. That's what Ryan Roberts said, one of the guys I listened to.
Well, you could be right about that. We'll definitely have to see with Dillon Gabriel. Like I said, he's a really talented guy. So Dillon Gabriel, to me, is still the biggest shock in the portal so far at the quarterback position. Kyle McCord is too, but the more that I hear about it and why, it doesn't shock me anymore. And I think it, in a way, it just shows you how the portal's changed. Because at first, when the portal became national like this, it was a deal where most of the time it was backups that wanted to play, so they left. Then it became a deal where guys that were really good at smaller schools wanted to make the jump to a bigger school. Now you've got starting quarterbacks that are being, quote-unquote, nudged out of the program to bring in a potentially better quarterback from another school. This is insane. Kyle McCord was the starting quarterback for the Ohio State Buckeyes, led them to 11-1, and now he's leaving.
Get him out.
This is unbelievable. This is unprecedented, and this is going to obviously keep happening now. What are your thoughts on all this craziness with Ohio State and Kyle McCord?
Ohio State demands national championships. They demand beating Michigan. They were like, no, you're not good enough. Get out of here. I don't know, man. I mean, apparently the dad was like, if Kyle doesn't start this year, he's going to go to the portal. And that was like one of the reasons why they started him over Devin Brown. He's probably going to go to Rutgers. That's the rumor. So that's a big downgrade.
It's a big – I'm talking about Dillon Gabriel having to downgrade to Mississippi State. That's even worse. Rutgers, yeah. I mean, again, no offense to Rutgers fans, if there's any here. No offense. But Rutgers is way down compared to Ohio State. I don't know. I mean, you talk about the first game of the season, though. I watched, obviously, it was against Indiana, so I'm watching the game. And they brought in Devin Brown. And he looked worse than McCord. Now, granted, he didn't get as much time or a chance as McCord did, but McCord looked better than Devin Brown, especially throwing the football. And it looks to me anyway, and to you and everybody, that Ohio State is not settling on Devin Brown. They're going after someone else in the portal right now. To Steven's point, he didn't lead us to every one in spite of McCord. But I get that. That's hilarious. Midcourt is your hilarious nickname. I get that, but he still led him to 11-1. I mean, what if C.J. Stroud legitimately came back for another year? I know he wasn't because he was the second pick of the draft, but just say he was coming back for another year of college football. Ohio State wants him out because he didn't beat Michigan. I mean, really? Or Georgia? I just, to me, I don't know, man. That's just crazy.
Well, I don't know. I think CJ's a little better than Kyle. But
he is better. Way better. Look what he's doing in the pros. I get that. But this is, to me, the first time in my life that I've ever seen a program want a guy gone who went 11-1. History. Like, he's no good. He didn't do anything for us, even though they won 11 games. And now he might be sentenced to Rutgers. He might be downgraded to the Scarlet Knights. Great for them, but how many games can Kyle McCord win at Rutgers, you think, in the new Big Ten, if he goes there?
7 max.
That's about their cap. I mean, even if Kyle McCord went to Indiana, because I've seen some Indiana fans say, well, it's all for Kyle McCord. I'm like, well, how many games can Indiana win with Kyle McCord? 7, maybe 6, 7? I mean, at the max. Who knows? But hopefully Kyle McCord finds a good situation for him. Will Rogers is being rumored to Washington, according to 247 right here. 100% to Washington. I mean, I guess I know why he's leaving, because it looks like possibly Dillon Gabriel's going there and everything. But what are your thoughts on Rogers leaving and possibly going to Washington, if that's accurate?
It'll be interesting to see him and Kalen DeBoer trying to work together. I think it could work, man. I really trust Kalen DeBoer.
Yeah, I mean, Kalen DeBoer is one of the best offensive minds in college football. And if they can, I mean, I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to keep Ryan Grubb either, the OC, because how much longer they keep him is vital, because he's really important to that as well. But
so is Jamarcus Shepard. Jamarcus Shepard is very important to Washington as well.
For sure. They got a great staff. But when I saw Kalen DeBoer at Indiana as the offensive coordinator, he made that offense. Like, that's why Indiana with Penix was able to win in the Big Ten. And obviously they won 8 games and they won 6 in the shortened season in 2020. But it's going to be interesting to see him with another quarterback if Rodgers goes there. But they're similar, even though they're different, because Rodgers is all about air raid. And watching Mississippi State this past season was hard, because it's like, let the guy do what he does best. Throw the ball. Throw the football. Like me and you did a preview. You know, we were talking about the Alabama game. We were talking about can Mississippi State keep it close. And I'm like, yeah, they could keep it close if they let Will Rogers do what he does best. But, of course, they didn't. They were trying to run the football on Alabama, and they got smoked. Like, don't run the ball. It's insane. But, yeah, Will Rogers, if he goes to Washington, that actually could be a great landing spot for him. But what about Tyler Van Dyke? Does he have any hope?
Group of 5, man. He's a group of 5 quarterback.
So you think he's going to be like Connor Bazelak, going from Indiana to Bowling Green?
I could see Miami to Florida Atlantic. I could see that.
So you think he's that bad? I mean, do you really think that he is a group of 5 quarterback? He does not deserve to at least go to a team like a Syracuse, Boston College level program. Like, he's destined for the group of 5.
Maybe Boston College. I could see Boston College. Syracuse, I really like their new coach and defensive coordinator. I think Syracuse will be good in the next 3 years. Maybe not right away.
And Go Tire says Tyler Van Dyke, UConn, big get for the Huskies. To UConn? I mean, UConn? That would be a massive downgrade. Unbelievable downgrade. We'll see what happens with Tyler Van Dyke. I mean, I haven't really heard many rumors right now with him, but I hope he stays in the Power 4. I still think he's good enough, but maybe Boston College. We'll see. Grayson McCall is again in the transfer portal. He was in the portal last year, rumored to go to Florida. Didn't happen. Do you think that he's going to make the jump to a Power 4?
He played worse last year. He played worse without Jamie Chadwell. He looked worse this year. So I don't know.
Do you think there's a possibility that he goes to Liberty?
Maybe. I mean, I'm assuming Caden Salter is going to get in the portal after the bowl game.
Well, I mean, this is the thing that's interesting, because when you talk about guys like Tyler Van Dyke who could possibly be going to a smaller school in the group of 5, if that's true, like you said, Will, and then you've got guys like Grayson McCall who are trying presumably to go to a bigger school, because otherwise, why are you leaving? Why are you leaving? I don't know. I know that Jamie Chadwell leaving, it's made Coastal a worse team, but if Grayson McCall is really going to leave, he's going to have to make sure that this is the right move, wherever it is, whether it's to follow, Chadwell to Liberty, whether it is to go to a Power 4 program, because he's about out of time. He's been in college football a long time. This might be his last year. I mean, it's hard to keep up with eligibility and everything, but he's been in college for a while. So if he's going to have any NFL future possibly, this last season of his has to be really good.
So apparently NC State wants Grayson McCall.
That's not a bad option, I don't think. You talk about what Devin Leary did there. I mean, he had success. And this past year, their offense was nowhere near as good with Brennan Armstrong and MJ Morris. So that could work. I mean, like you said, Will, he played worse this year, but is that more, McCall getting worse or just no Chadwell? Yeah. It's probably because there's no Chadwell. It's probably the bigger reason. I mean, you got to remember, too, that one tight end they had a couple years ago, Isaiah Likely, he was really good. And, that made McCall a lot better because he had weapons, especially Likely. And they didn't have as much offensive weaponry this year. They had one good receiver. But other than that, their offense was just vanilla. It was kind of boring. And for the most part, it just wasn't beneficial to a guy like Grayson McCall. And they didn't have him use his legs much. And then I think he got hurt again. He didn't even play the last few games of the season. So he needs to get healthy. I think NC State would be a good move for him. DJ Uiagalelei. And this is interesting because DJ, obviously leaving Oregon State, a lot of people thought he was going to go to Michigan State, right? Because of John Smith. But now Childs is going to possibly be going to Michigan State. You don't think both of them are going there. So what do you think is the talking points right now where possibly DJ is going to go?
Edward said Florida State. I don't know if Edward was just trolling or what.
I didn't say anything because I wasn't sure either. I'm like, does he actually have the scoop? Is he really going to go to Florida State? But I don't know. Edward says it came out that Florida State and Oregon won him. That would not be a bad move, I guess. DJ Uiagalelei is a guy that a lot of people are mixed on. Some people think very highly of him. Some people still think that he hasn't been what people thought he was going to be. When he had that first couple of games at Clemson, it was his coming out party. He was really good coming in for Trevor Lawrence, and then he just struggled the next year, which obviously Clemson had some coordinator changes, which makes a difference. And then he goes out to Oregon State, and I feel like he had a good year. I don't know what you thought about his year.
I agree.
I feel like he had a good year. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. Edward says it was said that Florida State wants to get a veteran quarterback to bridge from Jordan to Glenn. Well, they still have Roadmaker, too. I mean, what about him? I mean, I guess if what Edward's saying is right, is Florida State not think he'll ever be the starter? Because, I mean, he has talent, too. And he was one of Mike Norvell's first recruits. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, if Florida State's his option, I don't think it would be terrible, but he would have some competition for the job, to say the least. Oregon would be a really interesting move to go from Oregon State to Oregon. Yeah, running back, they only got some 3-stars here right now. Any of those names strike you?
Chaney fumbled it against Georgia Tech.
Oh, he's the guy that fumbled. But it wasn't his fault. Kneel the ball. You can't blame this guy. It was not his fault. Kneel the football and everything would have been all right. But no, where do you think he'll go? Is any of these guys you think be in the Power 4?
Maybe the first two.
I'm trying to get used to saying Power 4 because I'm so used to saying Power 5, and now it's gone. It's insane. Julian Fleming, though, that's a big name. From Ohio State, former 5-star recruit in high school, played behind a lot of guys. Do you think that he's still a really good player?
If he can stay healthy. But I just wish he was a more physical wide receiver because he's a big guy, but he doesn't really use his strength.
Yeah, he's not Deebo Samuel by no means. If you're that big, to your point, I agree. Apocalypse Saul, thanks for being here, says Fleming is an excellent blocker. Julian Fleming, though, do you think he would go to a program still in the Big Ten, or do you think he'll go to another program in another conference? Like the
Probably
ACC?
Another conference.
There it is. Walter Nolan from Texas A&M. There he is.
We'll have to play him next year. We don't have to play him. Let's go.
Look at Will. Look at the future.
Yeah, baby. Let's go.
Any thoughts on Walter Nolan?
Don't play Notre Dame. He's good. He got a lot of NIL money from A&M, so I don't feel too bad for him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these guys, it's like when Quinn Ewers was at Ohio State and he didn't play, but he made a lot of money. And then he went to Texas and he became the quarterback. But where do you think Nolan's going to go?
I think he just hopped in today, so I'm not really sure.
There's no smoke yet on him.
I think it's too early to tell.
Linda says Nolan to Texas, maybe.
Oh, that would hurt.
It would probably makes sense. I mean, he's staying in the state.
Yeah.
So.
Arch rival, though. Oof.
Edwards says Nolan's from Tennessee, also watched the Vol. So Texas, Tennessee. I mean, I wouldn't doubt him going to any of those programs. Linebacker, you got a guy from Arkansas, Chris Paul Jr. I remember him. Ole Miss.
That hurts. Such an SEC West rival.
Yeah, even though the SEC West is gone, so it's just all SEC now. But still, that shows you Arkansas is in bad shape. I mean, they're losing everything right now. KJ Jefferson, he's in the portal too, right? He was another name that we didn't get to the quarterbacks. Is he in the portal?
I don't know if he ever entered. I think he's going to enter. I just don't think he entered in yet.
Okay, I've looked. He has not entered the portal. It's being reported that he plans. Okay. Because I was about to say, because Mark was talking about it earlier. He was saying KJ Jefferson, but I'm like, he wasn't on the list. Yeah, he hasn't entered the portal yet. But I would believe, too, because Arkansas is not in good shape. Maybe Bobby Petrino can make it interesting. But Hummus Hero says, didn't know CP4 had a son playing for the Hogs. Laughing out loud. Chris Paul Jr. That's a good one. That's a good one. Edward says, I know the Shamecocks want KJ Jefferson, South Carolina. Yeah, they need help on their O-line if KJ Jefferson's going to work out there. Defensive backs, got a guy from Clemson. What are your thoughts on him, Edward? Because I know you'll probably chime in on Toriano Pry, cornerback from the Clemson Tigers. Speaking of Clemson, Will, just real quick, do you think Clemson's going to use the portal at all this year?
Yeah, they'll use it.
He's not. He finally thinks he's going to use it. He has to.
Yeah.
There's no way if Clemson's going to get back to the top that he can continue to not use the portal. It's impossible. Edward said, I love Pride, but the DB is strong from Clemson. The freshman balled out.
Okay, he got beat out. Okay.
Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you thought about the opening day of the transfer portal in college football, and if some of the names that entered the portal surprised you, and your predictions for where you think the big name players in the transfer portal are going to end up. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.